So just, project your voice a little bit, get the camera a little bit. Hey, what's going on, nation? We got a special guest, right? Welcome to the No Matter What podcast, right? We live from ESPN Hair Zone, right? Our sponsorship, right on 60th and Girard. They ain't just in the community, but they're of the community and for the community. Been around for 30 years. They do good work around here. Come on around. If you ain't been here, get here. It's a good fit for you, guarantee. But we got a special guest today, man. Brother I met in the process, man. I'm gonna let him introduce himself.
Hey, everyone. My name is Lateef.
Lateef, brother, man. He a good dude, man. Since I've been here back in Philly, I had the pleasure of meeting Lateef at a couple meetings, man. So Lateef, like, tell me what your process was like, man, in the beginning.
Well, in the beginning, my process with getting here was by way of the penal system.
Okay.
Actually, when I was coming through, everyone was telling the judge that they had a drug problem. They was getting out of doing the time, and so they wouldn't have to do the time. You would go, you do like 30 days at a rehab, and you would go home. And that's how I was introduced to a therapeutic community. Little did I know I needed that more, than anything at that time. I didn't know I had issues, and I didn't know I had a problem, and that most of my choices and decisions were coming from that broken place, that place of being broken, and that trauma, right? And that the addiction was compounding that, the drugs, alcohol, and the lifestyle was also addictive, but that most of my choices and decisions were coming from that. So through that, I was introduced to a therapeutic community. However, I did still end up having to do the time. I didn't get off like everybody else.
Yeah. Well, sometimes that can be a blessing, man, because, like I tell people, my mother was a parole officer. So, like, I escaped a lot of jail time, right? And so, a lot of time I'm thinking, like, man, if they would have sat me down for a minute, I might not have been out there so long, right? But now, I'm glad I ain't had to sit down. Right. But I'm just thinking, man, I was out there for a while, right? And so maybe if she didn't catch me every time I was falling, right? That my process might have been a little, might not be so extensive. But like, I thank God for having a mother, man, that cared enough about me and put herself in a position where she could, be in a position to look out for me when I needed it. So, Well, how do you think you caught the bug, man?
I think I caught the bug. To be honest, man, I can't really say. All I can really say about that is I've always had an appetite for the street life, right? And I heard people say, it could be hereditary, part of your DNA, but it could have been, through the media, through music, movies. Right, because I didn't come from that type of background.
Okay.
No one in my household drank, smoked, cursed. I never knew grandpa to sleep outside the relationship, the promiscuity and all that, because I grew up in a minister's home, right? So before that, it was a childhood trauma. My mother was killed in front of me at 4 years old, and my father shot her in the face in front of me and my sister. Shot her twice in the head, right? So because of that, I was awarded to my grandparents, right? And my mother's family raised me. So there's some dynamics there that kind of set me up, right? One was the childhood trauma. So I got mommy issues and daddy issues, abandonment issues, right? And I had a diagnosis. They said I was manic, I suffered with severe depression, and I had post-traumatic stress, right? So as a child, they wanted to medicate me. Flip side is that energy was in the household, and I was my father's son. So I believe that some of the negative things that happened, the negative messages that I got, you're never going to be anything. You're going to be just like your dad. He's crazy. You're going to be crazy. and there was some physical abuse, did some things to my self-esteem, right? So there was a lot going on growing up, and as a young man, I was in a lot of pain and dis-ease in my spirit. And when I took my first drink of drug, everything smoothed out. When I took my first drink and I took my first hit, all of that went numb. And I started to gravitate towards that more and more, just that feeling of numbness, that quiet in my spirit, because I didn't know how to do that for myself or where to get that. You know what I mean? But there's a part of me that felt like I needed it, and I latched right onto it. Right away.
Man, I want to really thank you, man, for that transparency, man, that honesty, because I don't know if I'd have been able to tell that story like you, right? Because, we come in here, and I'm hoping that I would have that courage, right? Because we come in recovery to say, we talk about anything that pains us, right? But a lot of times, even though I'm coming up on 3 years, right, I still got some pain and some issues that I ain't even really told nobody about, right? So, that transparency that you just shared, man, is going to allow me, like, to try to get through some of the stuff that I'm going through and try to be more transparent with people as I move forward in this process, man. So, that's what they mean when they say the therapeutic value, man.
Right.
Right? One addict helping another without failing. You just helped me, right? And you probably, I can guarantee you help some other people, man, that's tuned in, man, or people that's going to tune in, man. Because, it's one thing to hear it or hear about it and see about it. It's another thing to live it, right? And you lived it, man. So, man, listen, man, your journey brought you here, right?
Right.
And I'm grateful, right, that I could be part of your journey, man. Because we don't really rock together, but we don't not rock together. So there's always love, because you came in, you did the paint work in here. So when we get in the process, like, and we find out that our integrity means something, right? Then people want to give us a shot, man. And so I said, I'm gonna give my man a shot. And so that's how you build relationships around here, man.
That's right.
What I mean? And so and I remember you said, man, you I can see on your face you ain't looking, but it was still fresh paint. And so I had to keep coming back looking. And then when I look at the videos and see the results, I'm happy every time I come in here, man. And so thank you for putting this podcast together with the blue and the white, man.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity, man.
Yeah, man, because that's what it's about, man. Helping each other, man. Helping each other in any way we can. Because I don't want to be one of them people, man, that think I'm better than or I can't. I ain't got no way to fit you in. Like, if I can get you in, just, it had to get done.
Right.
And so why not give you a shot?
I respect that, man. And I don't feel like I see that enough in our community. And when I say our community, I'm talking about the black. I'm talking about African Americans, us, right? Where we endorse each other. We're really quick to endorse another culture. Oh, I'm gonna get me some Mexicans, or I'm gonna, deal with the other brother, right? And sometimes there's some negative connotations when it comes to us, right? But we are professionals. We are professional businessmen. We provide professional service. We understand what professional etiquette is like and being in service. And I would love to see more of us endorse each other and build some positive relationships with each other business-wise. That's kind of like a thorn in my side. That's a pet peeve. Because I hear people saying the conversation is so-and-so, whatever group it is, they work so hard and they do this and then they get in and out and they get it done. Well, that's my story. I don't know anyone that goes harder than me at what I do.
Okay.
Right? I started with nothing. One day I said, I'm not going to work for this guy anymore. I'm going to work for me. And I rolled the dice on it with just what I had at that time. And I pride myself on showing up, providing professional service, getting in and out, right? And I work with, some quality individuals that showed me, the business end and the service end of it, right? And the same service that I provide, because I've been in $1 million homes, the same service I provide for them when I come to you in West Philly, North Philly, Westchester, etc., I try to provide that same service because you're paying for a service.
Yeah,
Why wouldn't I give you excellence?
You've been a constant professional the whole time, man. From the presentation until the end of the job, man. So I appreciate all that.
I appreciate you for giving us a shot.
Yeah, no
Cut
doubt.
above painting solutions and property maintenance. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So listen, man. I always like to pray right before we get into it. So you mind if we say the serenity prayer?
Not at all.
All right, so let's get into that. God, grant us the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, courage to change the things we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen. So the podcast is no matter what. What does that mean to you?
No matter what. Wow, man, that's a deep one. I used to always hear some of the old heads talk about that. They used to say, man, I'm in a no matter what club. When I was in Atlanta, Georgia, I would hear folks say, we in the no matter what club, and wow, like to me that means no matter what, and if I were to be honest, it's way deeper than just using for me, right? The no matter what means to me that I don't have the luxury of quitting, giving up, throwing in the towel, not waking up for my life and showing up for my life today. Right? So when I show up for me, I get a chance to show up for you and everybody involved, my kids, family, etc. Whatever situation I'm involved in, I get an opportunity to show up, but I got to show up for me first, right? Because that's what I was doing. Honestly, I was checking out as often as I could. I didn't want to deal with reality. I didn't want to face reality. It was challenging for me, and I chose, let me get high, let me get drunk, let me snort this, let me smoke. I didn't even want to deal. And the more I didn't have to deal, and that's what I chased more than anything. People say the drug is addictive. That feeling of numbness was what I chased. I didn't want to feel nothing. And part of it was because of the trauma, because it was so painful. And I really didn't know how to. I didn't have any coping skills, life skills. No one taught me that. No one showed me that. How do you teach someone that? How do you say, it's easy for you to say, well, I was in a car accident and this is how I rehabilitated and this is how we do it. But no one said, oh, you saw your mom get her head blown off? Like, this is how you process that.
Right.
As a 4-year-old, 5-year-old, 10-year-old, this is how you deal with that. When you see other people, family together, and you acutely aware that that's what I missed out on, a mother's love. And these people providing a home for you and good education and all that. But that piece is missing, and you don't know what to do about that void. So now I choose to face that along with the rest of my life. Right? Because there's some choices and decisions that I made that I had to come back from 48 arrests later. Philly, Cali, Florida, Georgia, and making a mess of my life everywhere I've been. Making a mess of situations, making a mess of relationships everywhere I've been. Right? So now I get a chance to choose to stand up, man up, face that, participate on a level that's conducive to productivity, mainly love and caring and kindness, right? That place of self-love says that I live well for myself, that I do better, right? And that I'm better in other situations because of that, right? So no matter what, to me, it starts with self-love and self-care, right? By me not participating in actively using drugs and alcohol to medicate and being addicted to the substance and the lifestyle, and choosing to do the right thing for the right reasons, right? Those spiritual principles that come into play, right? For me, it's broken down to doing the right thing for the right reasons. Because so often I chose to go to the left or participate in the negativity or the quick, slick, hip, under, over, around method, right? But today, I get to stand on 10, face life, meet it on its own terms, and practice winning, right? Because I chose to lose, to be a loser for so long. Today, I can practice winning. How do I practice winning? I stay away from drugs and alcohol. I stay away from the streets. I learn to practice discipline and self-restraint, hard work, dedication, commitment. I practiced following through on that commitment. You know what I'm saying? Being goal orientated and following through on that commitment, and also experiencing the deferred gratification that comes from that, right? I get a chance to practice winning on a consistent basis. First, winning in my spirit, and that manifests outwardly into everything I'm involved in. Winning with me and in my spirit and my habits and choices and decisions, right? And continuing to practice that self-love no matter what, right? And then I can do that in other areas of my life. And we all know that, you know, drugs and alcohol on the streets is not a good look, you know, for any of us, right? So no matter what, I'm not going back.
Okay.
You know, that part for me. Like, I can't go back. And the only thing every day I wake up and I try to look at what's in front of me. How can we move forward? How can we continue this forward momentum, right? Because we've been to hell and back 30 times. We don't want to go back there. And we know that there's nothing back there. We thoroughly proved that to ourselves.
Absolutely.
Right? So no matter what means, man, I don't go back to that living hell, right? And that I choose life. You know, no matter what, I wake up and I get a chance to choose to participate in life. So
I heard you say that you were in Atlanta, right?
I was.
What do you think is different? So when I talk about my recovery in Atlanta, I talk about how that Southern hospitality, right?
Wow.
Helped me, man, because it was more embracing than it is up here.
Okay.
Right? More so up north, man, they more standoffish, more cliquish, more, you know what I mean? Like I don't know, like in their own bag type situation, right? But up there, I'm talking about, man, I felt the love, man.
Okay.
That's what got me over the hump, man. Being in a therapeutic community down in the South, in Atlanta, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about the greater Atlanta community of Narcotics Anonymous helped me flourish, man, and become the person I am now, man. And those people are still prevalent and important in my life now, man.
Okay. So in the South, in Atlanta, they do have, you know, some what they call Southern hospitality. And I don't know, everyone's experience in life is different. I can't really say I experienced the same thing you did as far as the cohesiveness.
Okay.
And, but that's, some of it may be because, you know, of my own fault, right? I'm really antisocial.
Okay.
I don't really lock into people and become friends and friendly, right? And I'm getting a chance to practice that now, right?
Okay.
So when I was there, I was in Atlanta, I made some friends. Most of my friendships were built on respect for me and my business sense, and who I was as an individual. Mm-hmm. There were some people that were, someone's always watching me, and they would see me no matter how many times I fell, get up and come back. And they kind of embraced that. There were some people that embraced that and said, hey man, I see you keep coming back. I'm a like grab you by the hand, man, and offer you some guidance and stuff. But I really wasn't ready because, again, I struggle with relationships, right? If you have a significant relationship torn away from you at an early age, right, it's hard for me, like, connecting on an emotional level with people, right? So living in my skin and having my experience was a little bit different. But there were some things in place that I can identify with that did help me on my walk. And one of them was, they got clubhouses down there that you can go to. And if you're white knuckling it, you know, you're having a hard day for whatever reason. It could be you feel like using, you separating with your wife, or you lost your job, whatever. I could go to the clubhouse and sit down and it'd be another recovering person there, you know, that I could interact with, and it was a safe haven for me. Mm-hmm. So I do miss that about the South. You know, the fact that they had a safe haven that you can come to and just hang out and just be there, play chess, checkers, cards, eat some hot dogs, catch 4 or 5 meetings a day, and be in a safe place. And I respect that.
So aside from the podcast, right, that was one of my visions, right? I wanted to, and I talked to a couple guys, right? I wanted to have the Highland Club Philly.
Okay.
Right? Because the Highland Club is where I got
That's
most
one
of
of the
my
things
help,
I was
man.
referring to.
Right,
I just
right.
didn't want to say it. Like
It's a clubhouse, right?
Yes.
And so, you know what I mean? So that's where we go, hang out, play dominoes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Show love to one another, catch a meeting or two.
Catch a dance Friday night. It was a safe place I could go dance and interact, right?
And then they had the fish fries and the shrimp fry, you know what I mean, on certain time. So yeah, so I've been looking for a building, right, to try to do something like that, man. And I talked to the person, right, that run the Highland Club, and he told me that he'd be willing. So he works in Philadelphia. Wow. So he said, I'm here all the time, you know. When you find a spot and you need me to help you, get it acclimated, let me know, right?
Cool.
And so, that's my vision, man. So I wanted the podcast, but I also wanted the clubhouse, man, because I see what it do down there.
Right.
How I bring the people together. Like, it ain't just after an hour and a half, y'all disperse. You can still, either 6, 7, 8 hours, y'all get, because I don't hang in no bars. I don't hang in no clubs.
Right.
Right? Where else can I go to be around my people?
Yeah, I like to see that happen for you, manifest for you, because that was a big thing for me. Kept me out of harm's way and my own way.
Yeah.
Kept me from getting in my own way sometimes. Yeah.
So I used to go there when I used to get off work and stay there until it's time. I'm going home and go to bed, man.
Right.
Because I was safe there.
Mm-hmm.
And I can interact and talk and, you know, and get information or just chill.
Right.
And watch me. So I don't know how to play dominoes, so I just watch.
Right.
I watch how they play, right? And I ain't really a card player, so I would watch them play cards. But just being around people that was trying to do the same thing I was doing, get one more day, another 24 hours, it was important for me to be in that atmosphere, that environment.
Right. And it gave me an opportunity to peek out of that shell or peek over or from behind that wall that I had up.
Absolutely.
Because I would be there and get a chance to maybe play some chess, or, you know, if I wasn't doing too well, someone would say, hey, you want a hot dog and soda? And that would break the ice.
Yeah.
And or get some hope from some senior members, because there were people coming through with double digits, right? And that type of thing was foreign to me. I had never had double digit clean time. So you had 20 something years, you know, and you took the time, you know, to embrace me in conversation and connect with my spirit and encourage me, right? That's an important piece as well. You know, there were a lot of people coming through, you know, mentors, teachers, and I needed that more than I knew I did, right? Mm-hmm. The same way you guys taught me in the streets, you know, y'all mentor me, y'all teach me. I left home at 17 years old. Right. You know, y'all took me into y'all wing. This how you move, this how you do this. You better not do this because it's going to turn out bad, blah, blah, blah. Right? Now, you know, as an adult, you know, I'm going to say this real quick. My sponsor has 37 years clean, right? Okay. So my sponsor, $800,000 house, married, you know, has a doctor's degree, et cetera, right? And I don't want to just put him out there like that, but what I'm talking about is he's a person that came from the same lifestyle that I came from, right? So to have the mental aptitude, right? And the fortitude to be able to go through the process of getting a doctor's degree and embracing and having that accomplishment, right? Pursuing that accomplishment, that part. I've never financed a home. I haven't gotten to that part of my journey yet. Okay. How do you do that? In my mind's eye, I'm like, $800,000 home. How do you finance that? He doesn't make as much money as I do, right? And he does. So there's some things. I call it adulting. Right, that they have more experience. So first they put the drugs down, right? Then they dealt with, like, if they had mental health or emotional issues or whatever, most of us do. We're challenged in that area, dealt with that, right? Then got on with the business of adulting. So when I look at the 3 years, much like yourself, that I'm coming up on next month on the 17th, I look at this person has 37 years of adulting. I'm humble, and I'm in a position that I understand. I'm in a position to learn from this mentor, this teacher, you know, this experienced member of life, of our community. Here's a black man, right, that came from, you know, the lifestyle and has had some accomplishments, and I get a chance to learn from that experience. You know what I mean? Willingly, lovingly, right? Hey, Lateef, this is how I did it, man. This is how I continue to do it.
So you speaking about your sponsor. So how important is sponsorship to you?
It's very important. In the beginning, it wasn't.
Okay.
Because I was so arrogant, man, and I had been everywhere. I've been to hell and back 30 times. What you gonna tell me? What you gonna teach me?
Right.
What's my mentality?
Right.
I don't have a lot to say to now. I do, but a few years back, I didn't have a lot to say to other men. Okay. You know, I had been in the streets with y'all. I had been locked up with y'all. I had, you know, and my thing was, you know, if I'm gonna be in somebody's face, it's gonna be a female.
Yeah.
You know, or I'm gonna be chasing the dollar.
Right.
You know. And so, you know, me interacting with other men, but I found out, man, that that's the jewel, that's the pearl, you know, how we build with each other and share, you know, in that experience, right, of being kings, of being men, of being leaders, right, of being fathers, of being husbands or significant others, of being business owners, right, of blazing the way. We're the hunters, we're the providers, we're the leaders, we're the soldiers, right? And so when I talk to other men that understand that experience or have more experience with it, I learn a lot from them, right? So the sponsorship thing for me is cool because it sheds some light in some dark places, and I get a chance to latch onto the coattail of somebody who soldiered up for 30 years, right? And I don't just have one person now. I have maybe 5 individuals that I talk to on a consistent basis, right? Because I just believe it's strength in numbers, man.
Absolutely. You know, they say that those that get the most out of sponsorship are those that think sponsorship is important. But I also say all the time, man, you got to get you some people that believe in you, man. That truly and don't want nothing from you, but just want to see you grow, see you develop, see you, you know what I mean? See you come out of whatever it is that you was in, right? Mm-hmm. And come out of that on the other side of it clean, right? Mm-hmm. And so I always, when I see a new person come in, man, right, and they start to blossom, and they start to open up, and they start to reap the benefits of not using the day that time can give you, man.
Which are huge. Yeah. I liken sponsorship to almost like fathership, right? Fatherhood, I mean, because so me now, being in the rooms for a period of time, I've been exposed to a therapeutic community since 1988. Okay. So this is my first go round. Hopefully it's my last time having to start my journey over. Each round that I went, I learned something else. Okay. Right? There were some things missing from my arsenal, right? One of them was a lack of total commitment. Mm-hmm. Right? People, the terms they use in the room are total surrender. Right. But to me, it was total commitment because I always had reservations. Okay. You know, I'm going to get so far, then I'm going to be able to do some champagne and smoke some weed sociably and blah, blah, blah. Absolutely. And until I said I had to swallow the whole pill, like, you know what? I'm just not going to use nothing and see what my life looks like. Because after doing that for about 30 years, if I don't understand that does not work for me, now I'm not saying it can't work for others, but for me, I'm totally convinced that does not work for me, right? So that opened the door for the dependency, right? For the addiction and the lifestyle to rob me of everything that meant anything to me, right? Loved ones, relationships, money, property, you know what I mean? Everything that meant even my soul. I honestly can say, I feel like the disease, the lifestyle, robbed me of my soul. I looked so much like a different version of myself that I was unrecognizable, even to myself. It took a while in this process for me to come back to my natural, authentic self just to find me. Right. And go, wow, there I am behind all of that. You know what I mean? Philly, Cali, Florida, Georgia, 48 arrests later, and all the persons that I had to be to survive my world. Right? The persons that I had to be to survive my world. You know, I thought I was this angry, gangster type, hostile, aggressive, pimp type, and that's not even me. Not that I haven't participated in some stuff, right? And I still had the capacity, right, to participate in some stuff and do some stuff, right? But when I touch that natural, authentic, loving, caring, kind, outgoing, intelligent, emotionally intelligent person, right? And I understand that now I was just that person looking for a mother's love in everything and everyone, and I didn't know how to get it. I was just acting out, man. Everywhere I was acting out, acting badly, off of those choices and decisions, primarily from the trauma. You know what I'm saying? So the sponsorship thing for me is real cool, man, because I get other brothers that can identify with that and help me build. When I see new people come in, I see where I was, right? And I like to watch they grow in their development and help them with that. Much like you can watch a child and you see how my son is making the same mistakes and choices and decisions that I made, and I see him and I go, wow, he's going to trip and fall. You know what I'm saying? But I get a chance to help him up and say, you know what, I experienced that too. I gotta let him fall, right? Because no matter what I say, even if I say don't step left, you're gonna fall, he's gonna do it. But I get a chance to say, now see what we learned and see what we discovered. And I had that same experience. That's not a good thing for us. And I can kind of encourage him to go in a different direction. And not only that, I get a chance to offer him some opportunities for a friendship. Absolutely. I'm opening the door and saying, call me, connect with me. I'll hold your hand. I'll walk you through some of those dark places sometimes. You can call me at 2 a.m. and say, hey, I feel such and such a kind of way. Or you can say, hey, what was it like starting your own business and how did you deal with the pressures of that? Or you could say, what do you do in relationships? Or you could say, man, they're talking about 90 and 90 and I need to do all of these suggestions. How do you feel about that and how do they affect your life? Right. I want to say first and foremost, the biggest flex in my life was when I understood that I didn't need a drug or alcohol to make me feel better, to function in life for any reason, and that I have more. I feel like I offer more, and I enjoy life more. Because I'm more in touch with and in tune with life's highs and lows and life's experience. I get a chance to embrace all of it, learn from all of it. See, I was going through life numb for a number of years. I was like a crash dummy. And I wasn't learning, I wasn't growing. That emotional part of me, that spiritual part of me was detached from life and the life force. So I wasn't having a true experience. Now I'm true, I'm authentic, I'm raw. I get to show up as me, cognitive, in the present, right? And make some different choices and decisions, right? And learn from that and get life experience from that, right? So that's the part I'm most grateful for about sponsorship, about the rooms, about, we're all here together encouraging each other. It is so huge and tremendous to me when I see someone with 37, 35, even 10, and I go, wow. So you got to understand that we're all having this human experience. The one thing that I'm acutely aware of is, those guys are not checking out. We're having the same experience. We're all human beings, right? So we mental, emotional, spiritual beings, right? And that 12-year-old girl is having those same experiences that you are. So you frustrated, you know what I'm saying? Or you feel lonely, or you feel abandoned, or you're disappointed, or you feel challenged. How do I level up? You just passed the test. How do I level up to take this test? I remember I used to feel like if I smoke this joint, it'll cool me out, and I'll be able to go in here and I won't be as nervous. You know what I mean? But now I embrace that. That's part of being alive. Okay, I'm supposed to feel a little nervous. Let me step up to the challenge because I'm capable of conquering. That's another thing. I never felt capable. Today I understand that I'm capable of loving me, taking care of me, providing for me. It's my job and my responsibility to challenge myself, right? My personal growth and development is my responsibility, as well as the experience that I have on this planet. It's my responsibility. I'm not just a crash dummy waiting for things to happen, sitting around for things to happen, right? But if I don't have a good experience in one area, I have the power to change that. I can choose to either not have that experience, or I can reflect and say, how can I be better in that experience? Well, if I go about it like this, it'll be a better experience for me. And I can choose those good experiences as opposed to the negativity that I chose all my life, the self-destruction that I chose all my life, the living hell that I chose because I was broken inside, and a part of me didn't feel like I deserved to have a quality life.
Okay.
Right? I didn't deserve to live like a king. In my spirit, I wasn't a king. Right? In my spirit, there were a lot of things that I thought that I don't want to really get into. But I didn't feel like I deserved, right? And it wasn't all my fault. The trauma was part of it, some of my childhood. In my family's defense, I feel like they did the best they did with what they had.
Okay.
Therapy wasn't a thing with us back in the day, a couple generations back. We didn't talk about, well, we got anxiety, and we didn't talk about that.
Right.
We didn't talk about trauma. We didn't talk about, what do they call that, grieving, and how to properly deal with that. I can't imagine how my grandmother felt losing her daughter to the hands of a guy that looked just like me, and now the guy that did it, that looked just like me, looked just like him, is growing up in our household every day, with behavioral problems. Because I was off the chain as a kid.
Right.
How does she deal with that? I want to love this little guy, but he is doing the most, and he looked just like that guy. Right. I had to give them a pass too.
Right.
They gave me a pass. They gave me the best they had, and when I left, they let me leave. And they taught me how to read, write, taught me proper etiquette. They gave me some stuff. They couldn't give me a mother's love. That was an impossible feat.
Okay.
But they gave me what they had under the circumstances, right? So I salute them as well. And we both apologize to each other. I could have been better. Maybe you guys could have been better. But let's love each other now, right? Now that we all understand the situation and the dynamics of it. That's something I probably never would have did if I was still using, right? But that love piece, for me, connecting with the Supreme Being, connecting with that source, the life force, the life source, right, which is pure love and self-love, right? When I connect with my authentic man, I start to understand, right, my position, right, and I'm able to choose, right, and to manifest, right, and to put some things in position that feed me, that elevate me, that allow me to grow. That's my job. From a position of self-love, I should challenge myself to grow mentally, emotionally, spiritually, socially, economically, academically. And that's what I love about you and the energy that you bring, because most of the time when I talk to you, that's the page we're on. We ain't in here talking about how we got to flip the break and the feds is on us and we might end up going to the, we're not talking about that. We're talking about how to elevate mentally, emotionally, spiritually, socially, economically, right? And teach others and share with others. See, that's what this podcast is about. How to do that, right? And that it's available. Look, the book says, and I ain't no book fan, it's available to us all.
All of us.
All. That's huge.
All manifestations.
Right.
Right. And so we got room for all listen, diversity is our strength, right? Because anybody, right, is welcome here. Right, in this process. And that they've done no matter what podcast. Like, we don't discriminate, man. We embrace all of y'all. We love all of y'all. Man, it's been a great podcast today, man. I love my brother Lateef, man, for what he's doing, man. For showing up, man. I love the work he did in here, man. Put me in when I come in here, man, I can woo-side. Like, this is my little spot, man, where I just sit down and I can process some thoughts, man, and do some work, right, and reach the people, man. And so, yeah, man, it's a great day, man, to not wake up. Because the first thing I used to do 5 o'clock in the morning, man, was get one out. Get it in me. Then I get in the car, get a little bit more in me, and smoke a cigarette. So now I ain't got to do none of that, right? I just got to get up and give God the thanks, man, and come out here and help my people, man. That's my assignment, man. See, we got to find a purpose, man. If we ain't got no purpose, we ain't got a reason for being, man.
Right. Well said.
So listen, you got any closing remarks for us, good brother?
Not necessarily. If I could say anything, I would say, wow, what a difference a day makes. I'm grateful. At one time, dying looked better than living. And today, I'm excited to get out of bed and participate in the assignment, right? Because I'm starting to understand the assignment and more about what my purpose is and discover that, cultivate that, nurture that. Because one time dying looked better than living, and today I'm excited to be part of the life process. And thank you for the opportunity of allowing me to come and provide service for you. And thank you for having me.
Man, it's always a pleasure. So, you're part of the family now, man. You help put it together. You've been a guest here, man. Don't be a stranger, man. And no matter what, right? You ain't got to use, man. When you use, you lose. You know what I mean? Using is for suckers, man. You know what I mean? The new thing is not using. Getting through this, right? And getting through your feelings, getting through your emotions, and not going for a drink or a drug, right? Trying to figure out how you can survive your feelings and emotions a day at a time.
Right.
That's the new Flex, baby. So Flex with Doug, no matter what podcast. We'll see y'all later, man. Peace.
Peace.
I love you, homie. Appreciate
Likewise.
you, my man.